In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. This morning we will speak about education. Let us pray for all those who are responsible for the formation of human person and for the formation of Christians. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Normally, I should give a class on the family, because the family is the first society. But because you study that, when you study marriage, when you study canon law, many things, so that will come back. Huh? So I will study only one aspect of the family and the state. It is education. Huh? So this morning we consecrate our class to reflect on education. Well, first, it is a fact that the family, the state, and the church or churches or religions are concerned with education. So there is no country in the world without a minister of education or public instruction. That is a universal fact. We have to educate, to form the young generation to take our place when you are mature, because we are not eternal on earth. Maybe someone think about that. Some doctor, he gave a conference on television. You can have that on the internet. He promised that we can arrive a day to suppress death. It will be a big problem because we have to pay for all those who will live continually as old people. Okay, that's the fact. Education is the way to prepare the future. Education is very important because it is not for now, it is for tomorrow. So, because we are, time is a reality, and we are continually changing, getting older. And the new generation will come. That is the history of humankind. So the need for a state, for a church, to have a good citizen, to have a good Christian or Muslim or Hinduist. So that need, the need for that church made them attentive to the formation of the youth, of the children. So it is a fact. But the problem is who has the first right on education? That is a central question. Who? Because someone they say it is nature, someone they say it is contractual, it is the state. You remember the two tendencies, we find that here. Those who say the society is based on nature, or the society is based on the contract. So if we say family is the first reality in nature, in the society, therefore the right of the education depends on the family. If you say no, society is made by the will of man, so education will depend first on the state. You know, the first class we had about society, about state is very important because all the rest depend on that way of thinking. If I think our reality, material reality, human reality is founded on nature, it's quite different if we say it's founded on a contract. Okay? So Plato, in the Republic number 5, chapter 5, book 5, Republic. He gives his understanding of education. Well, that interests me because it was the first paper I have to write when I studied philosophy at university. And my teacher, 1957, is still living. He was a Dominican, Father Lacroix. He's 99. He continued to give conferences, to pass on television, to give. He's a marvelous man. He was my first teacher at University of Montreal when I began to study philosophy. And he asked us to write, he suggested us to write a paper, and the paper I chose was Republic 5, the conception of society. And in that conception of society, everything depends on the state. For Plato, the state is the first reality. It's not the family. And if you read that text, it's very interesting because you will see that Marx, Pol Pot, Ho Chi Minh, Mao Zedong, maybe they were inspired by Plato. Because you have to put everything in common, not only your money, you have to put everything in common. So all the wives will be in common, and the children will be in common, and not a single child should know who is his mother. So he can consider all the women as his mother, and all the soldier is father, because of course not everyone has a right to marry. Only the valiant warriors and the strong women. So to have good warrior, he was already the same thing as Hitler wanted to do, to prepare a generation of soldiers. Of course, Athens was in war against Sparta. Sparta. There was the little city. So that is the conception. The state is the first reality. Is the one who controls everything. Of course, control not only marriage, control the family, the education of the children. That's responsible. But if we took a personal approach, if in fact here, today we don't speak about nature, we speak about personalism. But personalism, it recognizes the person as the first reality. But that theory, it is the theory taught by, for example, John Paul II, he was the teacher of philosophy, personalism. It is, in fact, based on nature, So in that personalist approach, or if you want, in the natural approach, who has the first right of education? It is the parent, father and mother. Father and mother. Okay? So we'll reflect on that. But, has the state, has the church any right on education? Yes, they have a right. But there is a secondary right. So those who have right by nature, they have, we call the primary right on education. And those who are state and the church have the secondary right. Because, the society has the responsibility to the common good. And the family are members of the society. So it's important that family function well to have a good society, healthy society. For example, it's important that family has healthy children to have healthy citizens, So that is important. But the first responsible to feed the children, to educate the children, is not the prime minister. It's not the president. It is the father and the mother. Those who gave, transmit life to their children. So, in fact, the problem in some society, it is, I think, the problem of many society, it is the fact that today we have the impression that the state controls education. And the parents are passive. In fact, for me, it's a vice of democracy. In our democracy, I don't speak about the Swiss democracy because they are active. But in our democracy, a few one works and the other are consumer. They stood up once 4 years to vote. And they try not to pay their tax every year. That's the passivity. That's the danger of our situation. Education is not a question first of the state, but the parent has to intervene. A few times ago on television here in Connecticut, there was information about, I think it was maybe Waterbury or some city here in Connecticut. They have a meeting about education. It was for the construction or, I don't know, it's about the school in the city. In that school, there was about 2,000 children in the school, 2,000 boys and girls. And at the meeting, there were maybe 70 people. So 70 parents came, and 2,000 should come. No, that is the danger of democracy. So what happened? The government takes in hand the organization. When the parents don't take their responsibility directly, because they have no time, or because they have no money, because they have no power, but they must be attentive, and they must have a certain control on the power of the state. So we will come back on that. So we see the primary right and the secondary right. And one of the goal of that class is to find the reason why those have right. The family has primary right and secondary right for the state and the church. Okay? But let us go now to the word educate. And you have a paper I gave you in the series. Educate. You have that paper here. Okay? Educate. Well, educate, it's come from two words in Latin. Ex and ducere. Ex and ducere. Ducere is to lead, to conduct. Dux. It is the one who is the leader, the dux, the chief. So to guide, to direct, and ex out of. So that means continually education is to take the child from a state and to take it off to another state of life. For example, from babyhood to childhood, and from the childhood to adolescenthood, and after that to adulthood. So pass from step by step to take it off. It is to develop, but from within, not from outside. That's the challenge of education. We develop. Education is a growing from within, from inside. It's not like a house, for example. They can build here a building, after that you have another one, you have another one. No, a child is developing from within, like a flower. A flower is developing from, that is a sign of life. You know the characteristic of life. Life is a vital movement, immanent. Spontaneous and immanent. Spontaneous is life developing. So education is to help a child to to take from within what he needs to become higher, more mature, more developed, etc. So that is education. And there is equivocal in the word education. My thesis, a doctorate, is on education, education of UNESCO. And I discovered after I read many books, many documents, I say, in English, education has not the same meaning as in French or in Spanish or in Latin. Education in English is very restrained to teaching, to learning, to giving information. And if you read the text of the Pope here, they are attentive. When they speak about education, it's not only about school. It is the whole formation of man, complete. Not only from the intellect, but from also the will of the man, his feeling, his emotion, his way of living with others, civism, civic virtue. So it is that is the important. So when you read a text from, for example, Dewey, when he speaks about education, it's only about teaching, how to teach, etc. But if you read a text about Maritain, because Maritain is a Frenchman and the light of personalism, you will see his conception of education is wider and include not only the formation of mind, the formation of the character, of the will, of freedom. That is a big challenge. Okay, we speak about that. And if we go to the text I gave you, so you have to educate. It's taken from Merriam-Webster. Look at that. First, schooling. First, provide schooling. Go to second. developmentally, morally, okay, here, morally. Especially, look at that, especially by instruction, you know. So all the idea of teaching, you know, etc. Okay. So we must be attentive to that. It's only a remark. So when you read Pius XI, you read the Pope, John Paul II, when they speak about education, they don't restrain that to teaching. It is covering the complete formation of the child, in his body, in his intellect, in his soul, in his faith, in all the dimensions of a man. Okay? Now, Father Fagoté gave you a good definition of education. I will use it to explain what is education. It is, first, it is a process. It is a process. Well, if you speak about process, you speak about passage from potency to act, no? That means change, progress. If you speak about progress, you speak about finality. So, you know, education is not at random. There must be a goal, an end. And in the text of the Pius XI and Jean Paul II, it is clear that the end of education for a Christian is eternal life. But of course, if you read pedagogy from Dewey, from William James, they will not speak about that, of course. But for us, the goal, finally, is to form a complete man. A complete man. What is a man? A man is a being of relation. We are essentially in relation with others. A relation with our father, with our mother, with others. Those who are human like us. In a relation with God, in a relation with nature, with ecology, respect of nature, etc. So it is to develop all that. So that is the process. A process, it is also made step by step. We don't make a man, we don't educate a boy or girl in a few weeks. That takes, officially in our countries, 18 years. 18 years! That means almost the third or the fourth of your whole life. And in my country, when I was a young man, that day, it was 21 years. We became adult only when we were 20. So we are very slow to be formed. But you think about that, the time is a long process. And after that, even after 18, because every one of you is more than 18, you continue that process. In fact, education is a process for the whole life. We never finish to be informed. What is informed? To receive form. Even when you are 80 years old, you continue to receive form, to receive knowledge. You can receive knowledge through television, through reading, through conversation, through conferences, through contemplation. It is a process for the whole life. But we say education, especially here for those who are from minus 9 months to 18 years old. Because education begins in the womb of the mother. We know that today. Education begins in the womb of the mother. That there are scientific studies that prove that clearly, that the way the mother has a relation with her baby can change the life of the baby in the future. Because at that time the baby has no conscience, but he has feeling. Is the reason why now when they kill a baby, they film that, and the baby is suffering. He is reacting because even if he is not able to think, he is able to feel. Okay? So it's a process. A process, secondly, a process of training, and forming. Training, 3 dimensions. physical power training physical powers, training mental power, and training moral powers. Well, what are our physical powers? It is our body. Huh? Our body. Don't forget, your body is you. Your body is not outside of you. Sometimes we have the impression the body is outside of me. No. You are a body. I am a body. Jesus Christ is a body. Of course with a soul, but he is a body. The body is a part, is not a part, is constituting what I am. Huh? Who I am. Okay. So physical power, develop the hygiene. It's important to have the children a good health. Health is this. It is, of course, it does not essential in the sense that we cannot live, we can continue to live even we are sick. But normally we try to have a good health and develop. And so here the importance of food, feeding, of exercising, sport for children, all those things. That is a part. You know, when the child is playing, when the child is developing, is working, developing skill, learning music, all that is a part of his education. Mental, that means the form. What is our faculty? First faculty, it is our intellect, to know. Of course, we know through our senses. So our sense power are very important for our intellect. For example, it's important for a child to have good eyes. And when you have at school, you see a child is like that, you say, oh, you should go to ophthalmologist to check your eye. Because sometimes a child is not good in class because his eyes or his ear don't function well. So it's important. Secondly, my mind develop the intellect. And with science logic, the three dimensions, the three acts of intellect. To know, to understand, to judge, and to reason. So to form the judgment. And in fact, the summit of the formation of the mind is not to know, is not to reason, is to arrive to a right conclusion. That means to have a good judgment, to judge. And that the parent has a great responsibility here. The teacher has a great responsibility to form the judgment. And finally, moral power. And what is the location of our moral power? It is in our free will. It is in our will. So we have to develop the freedom. That is education, you know. It is not only here. For many countries, it is only physical power and mental power. We have to develop moral. But the big problem is, to develop moral power, you must have some criteria. And if you are in a society, for example, who denies any kind of supernatural reality or denies natural law, etc., you cannot form the same way as if I am in a materialist environment, or if I am a spiritual environment, I will not have the same moral formation. You know, if my conviction is relativism, I will form children in relativism. You know, so that is the reason why in many countries they don't want to form, strictly speaking, the moral aspect. They say that it depends on the parent, depends on the church. But I think for me is not true. We have to form the character, to put the child into situation of difficulty. It's necessary. It's necessary. A child must have something difficult to do. He must have some challenge. Otherwise, if we take everything, he has no difficulty at all. And when he has the first difficulty he will have at 12 years old, like many children now, he will suicide. One of the phenomena now we have in our society, in Quebec we have that, the number of children, 12, 13, 14 years, they suicide because the first big problem they have, they cannot face it. You know, about Scoutism was a very good thing. Because in that education of Baden Powell, I have a great admiration for that man. Even if he was a British in South Africa. You know, Baden Powell, the founder of the Boy Scout. He knew that if we want to form a man, we must give challenges. So in that formation, they have a lot of little difficulty. And one of the most important thing, perseverance. Every week you go to the meeting, every week. Like on Sunday morning for Catholic, you know. Form the character. Otherwise, they will act only to their whim. I like that. Oh, I will do that. I don't like that. I will not do that. You know. No, you like that or you don't like that. You will do that. Those who, among you, they were in the military. You know that, huh? You like that or you don't like that. You will do what they ask you to do. Huh? Okay. So and finally, so it is a process of training. Power, physical power, mental power, moral power, to end. The third one is the end. In fact, the end is attached to the process. If I have a process, there must be an end. So what is the end? To render the boy, the girl, fit for his duty in life. That is the general. To make a young man, a young woman, fit, able to face his duty in life. I think it is one of the weaknesses of our society. So many young men, young women don't want to get married because they don't want to commit themselves, because they were never used, they did not acquire the ability to take responsibility. In fact, I will say education is not only to teach, it's to make a student, a child able to take in his own hands his own destiny. He can study by himself, not because he will be punished by his father or he will have a bad grade, but he wants to study because he want to prepare his future, for example. You know, that is the challenge. The big challenge of education is there, to learn a child to will by himself. In fact, the big challenge is not to know, to pass examination. The most important is to use his free will. And we learn to use our free will the same time we want to develop our muscle through exercises, through efforts, through challenges, etc. Well, okay, so the school, what is the role of the school? It is to assure more efficiency to the formation of the intellect. We can say that. The school is not the first place to the formation of the will. Of course, at school we can form the will, because if you arrive to motivate your children, your students, to study by themselves, and when they study, they don't study because of the teacher, they don't study because of the father, they study because they will to study, that is a big victory. That is more than to have a medal at Olympic game. That is the challenge of education. It's the same if you become a priest. The same thing. People, when they act by themselves under the grace of God, it is their freedom. They are not pushed. And you know, among you who are master of novices or future master of novices, the discernment of vocation is to see if that vocation and that boy or that girl want to become a seminarian or become a sister, does that by himself, or he is pushed by his father, or is pushed by his mother, or is pushed by some interest like social promotion. That is the big challenge. That is to educate. But we need instruction. We need. Why? Because we cannot will if we don't know. You say that. So both are together. But I insist on that because most of the time education is only for the intellect. No education is fundamentally to arrive to make people free. What is a free person? It is a person able to take his own responsibilities. Okay? So, in fact, where a child is formed, where is the beginning of the education of a child? Family. With the mother, with the father, with the grandmother, with the grandfather, with the brothers and sisters. That is the first place we form, we educate. First we learn a language. No? we know to speak because before we go to school, no?
Yes. Yeah.
Huh? So the first place of education, and the best I will say, is the family. Because that, you know, we see that in psychology. Huh? From 0, for mine is my 9 months, to 5 years old, is the time where the child is the most impressive. If he is loved or if he is not loved, that changes life. If a good example or bad example, that changes life. Because he is like wax, you know, melted wax. He is very able to influence. Little by little, he becomes himself. And when he says no, 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 he begins to affirm his freedom. Every crisis in the life of a child, he says no. He says no at 3 years old. Three, and I have a nephew, and my sister said, everything he said, no, 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 no. Do you want to go Dairy Queen?
No.
Yes.
No, it is funny. It is characteristic between 3 and 3 and a half. There is a 6 months of no. And when you are 14, remember when you are 14, you begin to say no. Of course, Polypal, you don't want to do what your father asked you. He said, come back at 10 o'clock. Oh, and you came back at 11 o'clock, you know. You begin to, why? It is a necessary phase in your life to affirm you. It is necessary. It is good. It is good that an adolescent pass through that. Otherwise, he will be only following the other. You know? He will not be himself. It will be either his father or either his mother. And sometimes we find some people, they are 35 years old. Mother, ring, 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 ring. Mother, what do you think about that decision I have to take? Yes. They cannot take a decision without consulting her mother or her father. Then the mother will die, the mother will die. They have to take their own decision. In fact, to educate is to become autonomous. You remember when you study what is a human person? What are the 2 characteristics of a human person, of any individual? Is to be own, to be complete, and to be other, to be autonomous, independent. So to be own, to develop my body, my intellect, my will, and to be autonomous. That is the challenge of education. Yes, brother.
But I'm just wondering, because you said something very powerful, you know, in our society today, you see a bunch of young people committing suicide, maybe because of the challenges they face in life, and they don't have the courage, you know, to face it. Maybe because of the way they were raised, they're not allowed at a younger stage to deal with problems.
Yeah.
The question would be, why is it, despite all this tragic event that is going on in our society, and society is still shielding the younger people from going through some, you know, rigorous step in, you know, at the early stage of their formation, so that through this, you know, some difficulties, they were able to learn how to encounter difficulties in life and deal with it. Why do they say, oh no, you don't want your child to suffer, you don't want to be, why is it?
Yeah. You know, if you want to take off every obstacle in the life of your child, he will not become an adult. I give you an example. Today, many parents don't want a child see someone suffering at the hospital. They don't want, for example, that they visit their grandmother who is dying from cancer. because it's too horrible. Imagine my little child will be traumatized for the rest of his life. Or they don't want to speak about that. Huh? You know, no, they have to face.
Yes.
They have to face. They should be there when their grandfather died. They should be there when their father is sick at the hospital. They must experiment suffering. But no children, he will be traumatized. It's better watch the Simpsons, have fun. No. That is, I think the reason is that. Form the character. Of course, with the intellect, of course, the judgment first. But it's necessary. My stress is on that. To form the whole person, not only the mind, to form the freedom. We form the mind in order to form freedom. To be able to take a decision by myself. Autonomy. Independence. Independence is not to do what I want, it's to do what I have to do. That is different. To do my duty in life. Okay? So the end of education is not first to acquire knowledge, but to prepare a child to take his responsibilities in the society. Because he's not alone. He is destined to live with others. To live in a family as a father or as a mother. To live in a society as a citizen. It is the goal of a society. The immediate goal is that. And for a Christian, it is through that responsibility taken in family, taken in society, to arrive to eternal life. You know? It is important to have that goal. Otherwise, if there is no goal, there is no activity. We see that in philosophy. Okay? The end is at the beginning. So the end of education cannot be reduced only to instruction. It is to make the child apt to act, to produce something, to live in community of a person, develop the sociability of the children, the sense of others, to be attentive to others, to the sense of the common good. Because the child is inclined by nature to take all his own interest. A child by nature is not open. It is protect himself. He wants to survive. He wants to survive. We have to learn him to open to others. Not only to receive, but to give. In my parish, at Christmas, there was a huge crash, beautiful crash, and they invited the children to come and to give one gift they received during the night of Christmas. You know, today they receive not only one gift, one orange and one apple. They receive many things. Why? To learn the child to share, to open, and to commit to common good. To commit to common good. Now, the right of education. Well, we saw that if we are in a society where the foundation of the society is nature, there is no difficulty to affirm that the right of education goes to the parents, to the father and to the mother, the genitors. Those who transmit life, they have the first responsibility to form their children. Okay? That is natural. So that right is inscribed in our human nature. But that right, the right of the parent, is recognized not in every country, but in many countries they recognize the right of the parent to educate their children. But at the same time, they also supervise the way the parent, because it can be abused or can be abandoned. In some country, for example, Saint-Vincent-de-Paul in France, in the 16th century, he founded a congregation, the Sisters of Charity, à Paul. Why? One of the goals was to collect the abandoned children. The abandoned. Even if you go to Paris, you will see that there was the entrance here, and here there was a window. In the window, there was a turning table. So it was the place where the women were not able to keep their children. They put the children on the window turned, and the sister took the children. You know, it was the 16th century. That So the state has a right, and not only a right, a duty. And that is inscribed in what we call the principle of subsidiarity. Huh? It was developed especially under Pius XI. That means a superior instance, a superior authority, does not take the place of an inferior authority. But he must supervise, he must protect, he must subside, and he must help. The word subsidiarity comes, subsidium in Latin means support. Huh? For example, after the Vesper, you can say subsidium, the prayer to Mary, subsidium. That means under your under your protection, under your help. Okay. So some countries deny the right of, for example, some countries deny the right of the family to run the business. Well, the control is very in the hand of the government. Some totalitarian country. Think about Plato, for example. In some countries, they deny the right of girls. They don't deny the right of boy. They deny the right of girl, for example, to go to school. So one of the reasons of the fight with the Taliban is that to free women, to free the girl. They don't want the girl to go to school, and they kill the teacher. So there is in some country, they don't want to educate everyone. They want to educate only a part of the country. We call the elite. The elite. It was the tendency, for example, of the French government when they took Cameroon under the protectorate, as a protectorate in 1916. They have only one lycée in Douala, one lycée in Yaoundé. And only an elite has to control the country. But because of Monseigneur Lefebvre, Bishop Lefebvre, he was at that time the apostolic administrator for all the French Africa, East Africa. He is the one who made a schism with Rome, founded the church in Switzerland. Opposed to St. Pius X, all that part, you know the problem, huh? Okay? But at that time he went to a country, for example, he went to Canada and asked the congregation, brothers, sisters, to come to Cameroon to create, and they create big high school, big house of formation, so that everyone, even the poor, can be educated. But that is, some tendency of forming only that in India, caste, caste. They want to form only a little part of the society, and the other are condemned to serve the others. Okay? So the child has a right, and the right of education is founded first in the child. It is because he has an intellect open to the truth. He has a will open to the good. Does the child has the right to be educated? That means to be educated, what is the right way to know, what is the right way to have a moral life, That is the right. But that right of the children is linked with the right of the parent also, because the parent has the right to form their children, to use the right they have. In fact, all that question is a question of right and duties. The right of the children, the right of the parent, the right of the state, the right of the church. At the same time, the duty of each one. We don't speak only about right. When we speak about right thing, we speak about duty. We should never separate the thing. So it is, if a child has a right to be educated, other has the duty to educate him. So if we affirm every child has a right, boy and girl, not only boy and girls, have the right to be educated, rich and poor. So we have people organization, they have the duty to assert that. First, the family. The parents have the duty to form their children, to educate, not only to feed them, but to learn them how to talk, to work, how to act as a good citizen, as a good Christian, etc. You have the state, of course. because the state is the responsible of the common good. It is for the common good that we have good families, we have good children. Because if we have good children, we have good citizens in the future. In fact, education is to prepare the future. And finally, your church, Catholic Church, but every church, you know, education is not only a problem for Catholic. Even evangelical, sometimes they have a college, they have high school, they have university. Muslim, they have their own school. Huh? Okay. So education, in fact, it is a relation. Huh? We said that just before. I spoke about that. Education goes on the category of relation. Remember, we have substance and the 9 accidents. Huh? We have quantity, we have quality, and we have relation. Huh? So education is a category, a relation. A relation between the teacher and the student, between the parent and the child, you know, between the church and the faithful who are educated. So it is a relation. Huh? It's not a being. Education is not a reality we can qualify directly as a being. No, it's a mode of being. Huh? A mode of being, it is to be related. For me, when I was young, a mode of exercising my being was to be formed, educated by my father and my mother, etc. That is education. So you have two terms. You remember when we have a right, we have a subject and we have a term. And there is a matter and there is a title or a form. So the problem of education, the matter is the child to be formed, but the title, why we can form, why are we obliged to form, or why are we right to form a child, you know? So the teacher, when I speak about teacher here, I want to say anyone who is forming the mind and the will of the parents, the church, the teacher at school, when you play sport, and the coach, all those who are forming children. Huh? Okay, so that is the subject. The subject is the teacher, the magister in Latin. Huh? Magister, magisterium, you know, the teacher, the one who gives the information, the one who guide, who indicate to the child. You have to take that way. Huh? If you want to be a virtuous man, use that way. If you want a good citizen, use that way. You know, that is to educate. Huh? So, but the subject, the term, the one who is benefiting is the child. Huh? Or if you consider, in fact, a right can be like that, it can be like that. Huh? If I speak about the magister has a right to form the child. The child has a right to be formed by the teacher. The magister has a duty to form the child. The child has a duty to listen to the magister. You know, right and duty cannot be separated. Huh? In fact, education is not only a right, it is also strictly a duty. It is a duty for the parent, not only a right, it is a duty, obligation. It is an obligation for the state, for the church to form people, not only a right. Why do we have a right? Why for example, a teacher in a high school has a right? Because he has the duty. Right and duty, they go together. And also that those who are formed, they have the right to be formed, but the duty also. And here we touch something important for a child, for a subordinated, is obedience. You know? Because, why? Because education, formation of men, depend on, not only on the teacher, depend, I will say first on the student, on the child. Don't forget that universal general principle. I will say in Latin, quid recipitur, ad modum recipientis recipitur. Everything that is received according to the disposition of the receiver. That means you can have the best teacher if the child prefers to sleep or to watch comics, cartoon, during the class, he will not be educated. You know? So the first, in fact, that is excess. The first responsible is not the teacher, it's not the father, it is the child himself. It is the student himself. The teacher can do nothing, the best parent can do nothing without the will, the free will of their children. And that is the big challenge. The big challenge is how I will make my student, or I will make my children able to will by themselves what I suggest them to do. It is very difficult. It is the suffering for many parents because they do their best, but the child does not want to do what the parent teach. Or he don't want to follow their example. It is the mystery of freedom. Yes, it's a mystery. You know, when the positive, they say, exists only when we can measure. Can you measure freedom? Can you measure an act of freedom? No. In the same family, you can have some children, they accept and they live what the father say, and someone, they say, oh, I don't want. You can open the door because it is very warm, huh, brother? Open the door. Huh?
Yeah, but I think some of it is also the society also distorted this concept of freedom, because when a child is in a family and you come to school, the teacher is like, your mom, they beat you, everything's an abuse. Even when you talk to your child, correcting your child is an abuse. So when the society tries to deform the conscience of the people, so the person goes home and becomes rebellious with parents because they feel that you have the freedom. You know, I think pretty much the society also contributes.
Yes, the society has a very great influence. But you know, if you form a child with autonomy, he is used to act by himself, even if you go to high school, or you go to university or college, or you go to anywhere in your society, if he is used to use his own will, he will continue to use his own will. But he acts only because of the influence of others. He will change the milieu, he will change his way of living. That is true. The social pressure is very, very strong in our society. Social pressure is very strong. And you have to educate, to form the children to be able to take their own decision by themselves, and not because all people around them, they do that. And that is the big, big, big difficulty. It's the challenge. We must say, oh, I can do nothing. And as a Christian, of course, we can pray, we have the Holy Spirit. But as a philosopher, I can say, it is the big challenge, the mystery of freedom. Because don't forget, we are working not on marble, on wood, we are working on free per person. And we must respect their decision. We can influence them, you can talk to them, we cannot take the decision for them. So that we are very far from only teaching. Okay? So the goal, we saw that they form the whole person in all the dimensions. Social dimension, physical dimension, religious dimension, etc. Okay? Now, what is the role of the state? Okay, the parent has the first fundamental right and duties on education. But why the state can intervene? Or why the state must intervene? So, the role, I thought that is the role of subsidiarity. And that is the teaching of the church. When the state has under it organization able to take responsibility, he should let them function by themselves. He should also help them. He should also control them. That means to see if really they are forming the children correctly. So it is, it is not the primary right, it is a secondary right, it is also a secondary duty. It's necessary that the state consecrate a part of the budget for education. And you know what, for 2-3 years on television, when you look, people complain. Why they complain? Because they say, oh, they cut in education, they cut, no more music, no more dance, no more that, they cut. Do they cut in military? Last year I had the pie of the budget, federal budget of the United States. 49% of the budget is for war. 20% is for veteran, and the rest for war. It's a progress because 5 years ago it was 51%. That means a large part of your taxes don't go to education, they go to defense. You know? Of course, you say we cannot do otherwise. But if we have money for war, we should have money for education. Well, that is a question. Huh? It is the same everywhere. It's the same in France, it's the same in England, it's the same everywhere. The first thing we cut, education. Education is essential for a country. I'll give you an example. Recently, for 2-3 years, Obama, your president, insists on the need of children to study mathematics. Because the statistics prove that now the majority of children, when they go to high school, after that, they don't choose mathematics. They choose general languages, but mathematics. What happened now? They are obliged to hire mathematicians from India, from China, from other countries. If we don't have mathematicians, we will not have scientists. So, you know, the church, the state must be attentive. Hey, we need students studying mathematics. Of course, it is more difficult than to study music, but you have to study mathematics. We need that. So we have to favor, you have to foster, to publicize, you have to invest some money in that. That is the role of the state. You know? For example, in other countries, it is a problem now coming here. Less and less children want to become physicians because it is more, look at this, they have more money to become a lawyer. You know that, huh? And it is difficult to become a physician. They have to study. So what we are doing now, we are accepting doctors from other countries more and more. It's the same in Canada. Many girls and boys don't want to study nursing. So now we are taking nursing they come from Haiti, they come from Jamaica, they come from Vietnam, and now that the state must see, hey, wait a minute, we need, and to favor them, to give them money for that, to favor that. That is the role of the state. The state has to supervise the common good of the city, of the country. Okay? The church now has the church a role in education? Of course, you will say. What is the role of the church? To make money? No, to prepare those children to become parents. Where is the faith form? It is in the family. The Pope Francis, Paul II, they insist so much on the family. Because the family is the future. So the church has a great interest, a great duty to be concerned with the family, with education. It is exactly what happened now. It is the synod of family. And the Pope will come to Philadelphia because of the synod of the family. You know? To promote, the church has a duty to promote families, to promote the procreation. It's funny, but it's true. Because today the tendency is to diminish as the most we can. And the church needs future Christians. We say, okay, in our churches, the population diminished, first because the old men die, secondly because those who have children, they don't have many children, and many times they don't go to church themselves. Huh? So that is a preoccupation. The church is very concerned, and the church has a right to take care of school. Well, of course, the first, it is to educate to faith, but faith is attached to the rest. That means I can have a Catholic school, and we can teach also physics, mathematics, music in that country. Because truth is not opposed to reason, to faith. Huh? Truth known through science, and truth known through faith, it is the same truth. The same source of truth is God. So that education is a right for the church. Is also a duty. Is the reason why in some dioceses you have priests, they are not working in parishes, they are working in school, or about education, about the formation of catechists. Is very important. It is evangelization at school. And evangelization also at home, because the role of the church is not only to have school, it is also to form the parents to educate their children. So if you read attentively Ervada, they will give you the main important point about that. So education is linked with generation. Education gives to the parent and the right to choose their school, their way, their mode of schooling. But here in the United States, you have own school. But in some countries, we don't have that. In France, that doesn't exist. It's not lawful. In Canada, that doesn't exist. We cannot have law school. And we can have preceptor. If you're a millionaire, you can hire 2, 3, 4 teachers, and they come and they give a class, like he did in the past for the rich people or for the nobility. But the normal way is to send the children to school. You know, in some countries, it is a opposition to of the parent to send their children to school, because they need boy and girl to work on the farm. They need them at home to work, to assure also the good. So the laws of obligatory frequentation of the school is very recent in the history. In France, it was 1881. By the law of Mr. Ford, la loi Ford. And they obliged the parent to send their children to school. Because before, where were the children? In mines. They work in mines. They work in factories. They worked making things on the farm. And they did not go to school. So they say at least 3 years. The first law obligatory in France for 3 years. To know how to write, how to reckon, to count, and how to read. The 3 R. Read, write, reckon. To be able. After that, okay, but it is very recent. 1881, no, it's not very, very far. So the general obligation to go to school is something very recent. And also the accession of boy and girl to the secondary school, it is recent. I think about my father and my mother, and they went to the 9th grade. 8, it was the top. And after that, in the 40s, 45, now he went to 13th grade. And only at that time, the rich one went to college. Who was able to go to Yale or to Harvard? So the education was expanded to every people recently in the history, very recently. That means for centuries, up to the 19th century, the majority of people was not able to read and to write. In fact, the congregation, many congregations of sisters and brothers in the 19th century were created to teach children, elementary children, because nobody took care of the poor. Only the rich were able to send their children to high school or to lycée. Okay. So you can read that by yourself, the church, the role of the state. In fact, the role of education is a means also. It's not an end in itself. We don't educate for education. Education is a means. Must not be considered as an end. Is the reason why a student should not work only to have a good grade or to have a diploma. To have a master in philosophy or master in engineering is not only to say, I have a master, I put that on my, no, it's to begin to work, no? So that interesting, education is not an end in itself. Education is a means to attain an end. So that means we must be attentive to that. We must not make education as an end. Is the reason why when you are motivating children to work, to go to school, to go to high school, we should speak not only about the diploma, we should about what they are preparing. We should ask those who are the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, what do you want to do in the future already? Many, they go to university now and they have no purpose. They will choose their job when they will be at university after they finish. It's stupid. Because we must know the end before we go, no? Is the reason why so many students are not motivated. If you want to become a nurse, if you want to become a teacher, and it is your ideal when you are 16, 17 years old, everything is for that, like a hockey player, a football, or a golfer. That is important, motivation. In fact, education is based on motivation. And the role of the teacher, the parents, the professor, it is to motivate, not only to give formation, to motivate them. Because they can receive, if I study only to spend my time, if I study to become a scientist, a biologist, or a priest, or a pope, there is we must ask, that is important. Sometimes we forget that. We say, the parents say, you have very good. Why do you have a gift? What do you want to become? When I was young, I remember many people, priests, sisters, and lay people, they came in our classes and they asked, we were 10 years old, 11 years old, what do you want to become? What do you want to do in the future? Because it's important to be motivated, In fact, education is not only to give information. Education is to make the child able by himself to take in his hand his own destiny. That is education. And that is more important than the big, beautiful sculpture. What is we say sometimes education is the art of arts. The art of art. Okay, I went to Rome, I saw the beautiful statue of Moses, It's wonderful. Moses is there. But he is there for 400 years. He said nothing, he did not move. He is only beautiful. A child is more than a statue. I will say the best sculptor are parents. Because they sculpt not a statue, they form a living statue. A living beauty. That is, if the parent think about that, they will not hesitate to have children. To commit to have children. Because this is the most... Mona Lisa, 6 million people every year, they go to Louvre in France to look at Mona Lisa. Smile. What is Mona Lisa in comparison to the beautiful baby? A child, growing child, an adolescent. But, we consider that as the most beautiful thing. We forget that life is more beautiful than the statue. So the parents are really the most important artists in the world. They are the father and the mother. And when I look at you, you are very good sculptors. Education is fundamental. The future of the church, the future of your countries depend on the formation of the free will of the children. Not only on diploma. You can have diploma and do anything. but on the free will. That is most important.
Well, I see that most of the Catholic schools are very, very expensive. It's not really...
Yes, that is a problem. Okay.
If the education is very important and vital for the church, you go to Catholic colleges, high schools in every country. It's not for the poor.
Yes, but not always, because some I think, for example, in Cameroon, the brother, the sister, it was very cheap. Huh? But now, of course, you know, the problem is we have less brother, less sister working. And we have lay people, and they have children, and they must have, in justice, a good salary. So, and also, we cannot pay them, so we have to close or to ask money. And that is not, is a reality. But anyway, the goal of any education is to form a human person, complete, autonomous, and for a Christian, someone who is preoccupied to attain his eternal destiny and to communicate to his children. So I will finish by only a consideration of 3 types of education. When I did my thesis, they asked me to study 3 types. You know, and they asked me to study 1 type of Western education. So I chose Jewish and American. I was imposed by my teacher to study Pistrak. Nobody knows it. He was the ideologist of Communist Party in Russia in 1917 in regard of education. He's the one who, well, and between them, maritime. I spoke about maritime. Well, that means, you know, that conception here, in fact, is for many the democratic conception of United States. That means individualism, you know. And also Dewey insisted no dichotomy between matter and form, between spiritual and material. In fact, he was a materialist philosopher. Pistrak is a communist. The formation is not to make a man Democrat, it is to make a man a communist, a good communist. So all the formation has a goal to make children revolutionary. A child must be essentially a revolutionary. And finally, here, Maritain representing the Catholic proposition of the respect of the human person. Develop the whole person. The whole person is responsible for his own interests, of course. I have to survive, but is also responsible for the common good. Here it is my interest. Here it is the total interest of the state. Here is the interest, my interest and the interest of others are inseparable. That is interesting. We find exactly the same pattern we had before. You remember? In the state, everything is no state at all, or a little bit of government. The other, everything controlled by the government. And in the middle, autonomy, responsibility, solidarity, subsidiarity. And that is correspond to the three kind of economic system we will study in a few weeks. Here, capitalism. Here, Marxism. In the center, personalism. Education is everywhere. Communists are interested in education. Jewish, liberal, American or materialists are interested. Education is a tool, a means for every society. And for us as a Christian is the way we can go to our eternal destiny. So I wish you will come and you will be all your life an educator, a formator, a sculptor of human person.
Thank you, Father.